basically the band is a band of composers, and if a song feels good 3 minutes long, then we'll leave it at 3 minutes, you know, because there are some things you just can't stretch out for the sake of it. You know, it just feels right at that length, and so therefore you'll leave it at that length. And follow you, follow me, which is, I mean, if you ask our ardent fans what they think of it, they'll say, oh, it's the group single. You know, it's obviously a commercial single, but I mean, to me, that's one of the hippest things we've ever done. You know, and I mean, the way it was written was because it was out of improvisation. It was a blow, basically, and just sort of honed itself into this sort of verse, chorus, verse, chorus, chorus, verse. You know, and the attitude behind it was totally, you know, on the level. But I mean, to the punters, I suppose they sort of see it as their band trying to get a hit single. You know, and we've never really needed that. I mean, in America, you need that. But also in America, you're more likely to have a hit single with something that's, you know, related to what you do anyway. So. With new material, trying to introduce new material to an audience, because people basically come to a concert to have a confirmation, you know, and they feel safe with what they're hearing, and they like to hear the songs they know, because then they can sing along with them, you know. And if you give them too much new material, luckily our album's been doing very, very well, so all our fans that are coming to see the gigs know it. You have to sort of think of the set in the same way, dare I say, that you would titillate a woman, you know. I mean, you have to sort of, you know, you have to reach some kind of climax, hopefully.
After more than 10 years, 12 albums, the loss of Steve Hackett and Peter Gabriel, what is it that makes the fans loyal to Genesis? And do those fans have any criticisms to make?
For 18 months, I've been sitting at home listening to their records, thinking I wonder what they're like. And it's them 200 feet away from me, which is quite something.
Depends whether you like Genesis because of the music or because of the image of Genesis. If you just like the image and you like to look good as a Genesis fan, then you might not like other types of music because you think the image isn't good enough.
It's certainly not an image band. They're probably one of the most least fashionable bands around at the moment.
You know, I got into them when I was 12. Some sixth formers introduced me to them and said, you'll like this. So I borrowed an album, I liked it, carried on buying them. I mean, they were the first group I liked, and they're still my favourite.
They say they're not a singles band, but they still release singles. They still sell. Maybe it's the point of a Genesis fan will buy anything.
Yeah.
Loyalty to the band.
Loyalty to the band, yeah.
There's two different things, Genesis now and Genesis then. I mean, in the old days, you used to try to do the same on stage as you did on the album. Be all kind of mysterious and inaccessible. But now it's just more entertainment, you know, Phil Collins with his funny little stories and all this kind of thing.
Possibly Phil Collins realises that Genesis don't really communicate with their audience as a lot of other bands do on stage. So he sort of tries to get everybody involved in being like one of the boys, if you like. I'm just the same as you, and I'm up on this stage, and this is the way you'd behave if you were up here.
After the first 5 or 6 years, they were really original and innovative and all this kind of thing. And nowadays, they seem to be, well, they're losing inspiration.
They're
things like
beginning
this.
to have a recognised style.
Stagnate, yeah.
I used to like Genesis. I mean, I'm not being condescending when I was about 14 and 15, you know. With the old Genesis, I saw them with Gabriel, and I saw Gabriel by himself just after he left them. And I used to love them, but now I like all types of electronic music, Kraftwerk and Ultravox, things like that, and also Roxy and Bowie, obviously. Now, see, the thing that amuses me there is, like, I've stood there for an hour now and listened to everybody talking about how great Genesis are. And I've always, you know, I've liked Genesis, but I've got my critical points to say about, you know, what I would have said about them. But I wasn't going, bored, snow, and all the rest of it, because that's what they're into. Whereas because I'm into my kind of music, and it differs from theirs, it's a typical reaction. Well, it's not so much he can't take criticism, he's very limited in his outlook on music.
Perhaps you've got a sense of humour, but more than you can say for bands like Kraftwerk and people like that who make that sort of music.
Well, not necessarily.
Oh, girl.
first joined the band, it was I was kind of viewed as class clown, you know, because I was a kind of scapegoat. It was just fine because I mean, like, drummer's role, which is what I was at the time. The drummer's role is very defined. It's like a goalkeeper. You know, I mean, it's like he's there to really present the vibe. You know, you give the band the energy with the playing on the drums and the sort of humorous and the sort of personality vibe, then the band will sort of, you know, bounce off it.
Well, it's definitely the performer. My role is definitely as a writer. You know, I'm not a very natural performer, but in a group nowadays, you've got to kind of contain all the different aspects within the group. In the old days, I suppose there used to be writers who never performed, and performers who never wrote.
We're easy now. 5 people, as we were when we started, developing as sort of personalities, expanding as writers and musicians, need more room, and we could barely contain 5, and now. Then we were 4 for a while, and they kind of developed, and you could barely contain that. And now there's 3 of us, and there's a lot more room for each person to breathe and move in, which I think is actually the secret. In a group where everyone writes, it is a problem.